I do not have a sink in my studio. For the past year, I've been working with this. Perhaps you've seen this in the background of my videos. No, I'm not doing some serious gardening down here. This was just my cheap and simple solution, but it's a bit ugly. Today, I'm going to be building a water canister or water reservoir. I'm not sure what to call it. That can sit in the corner of my studio looking beautiful while serving the functionality of a sink. Let's do it. I want my water reservoir to be as large as possible. The main limiting factor on the size is the size of my kiln. The inner dimensions of my kiln are 40 wide by 35 tall, so I'm going to try and fill that space as much as possible. I'm also going to make a stand separately so I can give the reservoir some height, but without taking up any kiln space. I'll just fire those separately. Next, I need to transfer my sketch to the final dimensions on paper so that I can make the template. You can also just draw it directly on the cardboard if you want. Here we go. Now I have my old pizza box. We're going to be using this cardboard as the template. The cardboard is just sturdier than paper, so I like to make them out of cardboard, and then we're going to be using this template to guide our sculpting. Okay, so you actually want to keep the outside of the template, not this inside part. This side, I usually post up on the wall so I can kind of keep an idea of the shape I'm going for, but this is going to guide our sculpting right here. So this is the part that you want to cut perfectly. Now that I have my template, I have my coils prepped, I have my bottom prepped. Now comes the fun part. It's time to start assembling. She's done. Well, the coiling is done. It took me about a week to finish all the coiling. This is how I prefer to do coiling large pots like this, because then it allows the layer below to dry before you put another wet layer on top. So now I just have to trim it a little bit because I made it a little bit too tall. I'm just gonna mark it where 35 is. Okay, maybe I'll just... Okay, so I am going to spend some time refining this and smoothing it all out, but in the meantime, I need to make the stand. When I was first coming up with this project, I was considering doing it on the wheel. The reason I didn't, well, there's a few different reasons why I didn't. The first reason is that I could not actually throw this whole thing in one piece. I'm just not that good. I could, however, do it in two pieces, but the reason I didn't do that is it comes down to my wheel size. So my wheel is only 30 centimeters wide. And at the moment, I don't own a bat that would extend it to the 40 centimeters. So that means that my pot could only be 30 centimeters wide at the bottom. And the widest part of my kiln is the horizontal size. You saw that with the proportions of the pot. So I would be compromising a lot to make it more narrow, and it just wouldn't hold as much water. Another reason is that weight doesn't really matter with these pieces. I mean, so my hand-built pieces, they tend to be heavier than thrown pieces. That's not necessarily inherent to hand building, that's just how I make my pots. But in this, weight doesn't really matter. It's just going to be sitting in the corner of my studio, so I don't need to worry about making it very thin and like nice to pick up. In fact, it's probably a good thing that it's like a robust piece, so it doesn't crack or explode or anything like that with the weight of the water inside of it. But I also just really enjoy the process of building things large scale with hand building. The process of it taking a couple of days, it's slowly coming to life, like, you know, as you go on throughout the week. It's just really satisfying somehow. Okay, I mentioned I did not have a 40 centimeter bat. And as I was making this, I was thinking that I'd really like to have one. That way I could actually trim these pieces on the wheel. So I got this piece of wood. It's an offcut for €1. This is just a piece of composite board. With these boards, in my experience anyway, if you're not using them heavily like every day, it doesn't really matter if they're waterproof or not. But with this one, after I use it, especially if I'm going to use it with any water, I'm going to put it under something heavy so that it can dry out fully and flat. First thing I need to do is transfer these holes onto my board. I'm just gonna use some tape. So these are the holes that my little screws stick in. I want to be as precise as possible here. Theoretically, all I need to do now is drill through these two holes. So let's go. That's on. This is dangerous. Look out. Nice. everything's fitting together now, which is a big relief. Now I need to install the hole for the little faucet thing. So this is just a spigot that I got from the hardware store. I needed to get this extra piece here because the amount of threading here is not designed for something that's as thick as this. It's supposed to be, you know, a rain barrel or something like that. So what I'm going to do is this part is actually going to be sticking through the hole, and then the spigot can screw right into that. The important thing is I need the hole to be as wide so that this thing can go through. The issue here is that clay shrinks. So I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. This is 2.6 centimeters wide. So maybe we go up to 3. And hopefully that's going to fit. This is kind of a risky thing we're doing here, but that's how I'm gonna do it. Next, I would like to add just a little bit of carving to the sky. I'm just thinking he's looking a bit boring. Using my trimming tool, I can add just some stripes. That's what I'm thinking. It's definitely not even, but it's fine. Moment of truth, will it fit? Okay, wait. Okay, this guy seems to have warped a little bit. However, I have a solution. It involves power tools. Okay, let's go get them. Okay, now that this is fitting, we move on to the arguably more important part, the fixtures. Okay, so this piece is gonna hold it on. Should we put water in it? Okay, let's try this again. Where is the water coming from? My thought is that it's going through the threading, but I think I have something that can fix that. Plumber's tape. It's either going through the threading or this gasket is not thick enough. And if this one isn't gonna work, I don't know what else to do. Why is there? I can't even figure out where this water is coming from. I've sealed everything at this point. The only thing that I think can be happening is that this gasket is somehow not sufficient because of the curved surface of the inside. So the last thing that I can possibly think of to do is reinforce this gasket with more plumber's tape. That's the only way that the water can be getting through at this point. I just don't understand the physics of how this is not working. Don't come to me for electrical advice, plumbing advice, woodworking advice. Don't know what I'm doing. This doesn't work. Maybe there's no video this week. It's not leaking. Ah, yes. Oh, and let's not forget. Let's get this installed. Well, that's it for today, friends. I hope that you enjoyed watching me build my beautiful new ceramic sink just as much as I enjoyed making it. If you're interested in these types of larger scale projects, I also built a table in a similar technique, very different style. But if you're interested, you can check that video out next right here. Bye, friends.